So let's go ahead and create a new rule. It says no rules have been set up yet. Create a new rule. So I'm going to click that. And let's go ahead and call this guide pages. And for our CSS code, we're just going to paste in the selector and the properties that we've been working on. I'm going to jump to my editor, and I'm going to copy it and paste it into the CSS code. Now again, we have two classes, one inside of the other, and we're floating it right and giving it some margin on the left and the bottom. Okay, I'm going to scroll down. So now we have our add to specific pages dialog here. And if you're curious about how this set of inputs works, you can check out the video that we did when we were explaining how the blocks configuration functions. So for this particular class, it would be good to narrow down where we're displaying this. So we want to go ahead and display it on just the guides pages. So let's click this add only on the listed pages. And under the pages section, let's create a path pattern that will work for any guide. So that's going to be guides / and then an asterisk. Now this is very similar to the pattern that we created with Path Auto in order to generate meaningful paths for our guide node pages. Okay, I'm going to scroll down. We have an option here that says media, and we have all, screen, and print. What this says is that we can choose when to include this CSS file using certain properties in our HTML to include this on all pages, or just pages that are meant for a screen, or just pages that are meant for printing. We're going to leave it at its default for now. And we also have pre-processed CSS, which we'll talk about in the future. So let's go ahead and click Save. Okay, now we have an item in our table. We have the title, the location of the CSS file that gets generated whenever this configuration is saved, and a couple of actions. We can edit or delete this rule. So now our style should be being applied to all guide pages. So let's give that a try by going back to our filter page. I'm going to go ahead and click on Find Content in the shortcut bar, and I'm going to click on Filter under the titles. Okay, this looks good. We're now floating our image to the right, and if we wanted to manipulate the content here, I'm going to right-click on it and select Inspect Element. And then I'm going to right-click on the element in the box right here and select Edit HTML. And I'm going to add a whole bunch more text by copying the text and pasting it over and over again until we have a bunch. And you see that our styles are being applied. And if we right-click our image and select to inspect it, you'll see that the styles that we applied aren't actually being applied here. The reason is that the selector that we used was for a containing div of this image. So if we go over to the left-hand box and we go up a couple items to where we have the field name field guide image class and click that, here we'll see our new selector that we added with CSS Injector listed along with the properties, float right, margin. If we wanted to apply the CSS directly to the image tag, what we could do is add the img tag to the end of the selector. So here on the right hand side, what I'm going to do is click the selector. I'm going to click the right arrow key in order to bump the cursor all the way to the right of the selector because it's kind of long. And then I'm just going to type in img and click enter. And now you can see the full class here. And now if we right click on the image and select Inspect Element, we'll see the classes applied to the image instead of the containing div.